What's going on, gun lovers? It's Rizzo. We're back today. We got talking about a topic that's got a little debate in the gun industry. We're going to talk about the difference between hammer-fired and striker-fired handguns. We're going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of both. What's the difference between them, and why it even matters for you, especially when it comes to self-defense. So stick around. We're going to get started. All right, let's go.
Everybody ready?
Let's do it. All right, so let's talk about what actually makes our guns tick. All right, so when we talk about a gun's action, we're basically getting into the nitty-gritty of how the trigger, hammer, and the whole bang making process takes place. All right, so we're going to start off today talking about hammer fire. And hammer fire can basically be broken down into three categories. You got your single action only, your double action only, and your single action double action, which means they do both. All right, let's get into it. All right, so a single action, kind of like this staccato P, is like a one-trick pony. All right, so when you pull the trigger, it's going to drop the hammer. That's what the single action trigger does. All right, so it's just that simple.
Single action.
You got a lot of popular guns that are single action. This one, the SIG 226 Legion, and I believe the CZ Shadow. Those are like single action guns. Like I said, basically, hammers down. When you put a round in, basically that hammer is down, and if that hammer was up, it's not going to pull the trigger. It's only going to pull the trigger when the hammer is down. If this hammer was up, nothing would happen. Let me show you that with the gun unloaded. Alright, so we got an unloaded firearm, and we're just going to, if the trigger's down, I can pull that trigger and it'll click up. But you see, let's well, yeah, just basically it's just nothing's gonna happen when you pull that trigger on the when the hammer's up. Alright, so now let's talk about double action. Double action is different from single action, where with a double action, what it does is when you pull the trigger, it's going to drop the hammer, reset it, bring the hammer back up. So every time you're going to drop the hammer with that trigger pull. So it's doing two things with one trigger pull, double action. It cocks the hammer back, then releases it, firing your round. So that's the difference. And double action is kind of like with this one here. I don't know if I get a close-up shot, but if you, let me see if I do it one hand. Pull that trigger, bam. I'm not shooting anything, I'm just showing you how it works. This is not a double action. So that's kind of how that double action works. Drops the hammer, releases it, fires your round. Alright, so last and not least is the double action single action. It kind of does both. So what you can do is, let's say, with the what you can do with the double action single action, if you want to, you can just pull the, see, oh damn it, you might want to do it so you guys can see that trigger move. But if you move the, you see how that trigger moves, you can cock the hammer, and that puts it in single action mode. Now with the hammer up, it's in double action mode. If I pull that trigger, it's going to drop that hammer, bring it back up. If I'm firing, it's going to drop the hammer, and then it's going to be double action on the first shot and single action on the all subsequent shots. And you hear a lot of people tell you when you're new to gun, when you know the guns, you get your first gun, try to get a gun with trigger pulls the same every time. This is what they're kind of talking about, is not get a single action, double action, single action gun. So let me show you what that looks like. We're going to put it in and load a round. Now, this part you have to be careful about. If you're going to drop this hammer, you have to kind of have that trigger pull. So, but we don't want to drop the hammer and fire the gun. So you got to be careful when you're doing this part here. So we're going to release the hammer slowly. Now it's up. Now, if you watch, now I'll shoot the first shot one hand. You're going to see the trigger is going to pull it down and fire the shot. See, it stays down. Now, all subsequent shots are single action. So, yep, there you go. Single action. Damn it. Okay, all right, we're gonna take care of that. We finish out. Hate having misfeeds, whatever, but that's fine. Sorry, now that's gonna go. It's not gonna look good on that review. But yeah, that's single action, double action. That's what you get.
Sit up next to the first shot of the double action.
All right, so now we're going to talk about the striker fire pistol. That's like all the rage and what everybody's been talking about, what everybody's using lately. So the striker fire system does not have a hammer. It has a striker fire system inside. So it's sleek, it's more modern, and it is designed to keep you safe. So we'll get into all that later in the video. So the big question is, you know, does it give you more? Is it more safe? Is it more reliable than the hammer fire? A lot of us old school cats who grew up on the hammer fire, that's what we used to. A lot of us were resistant to striker fire guns, especially the when they first get the polymer. We couldn't stand it. We also was tripping about red dots, so don't pay attention to some of us old school cats sometimes. It may take us a little while to get on, but let's talk about the differences, the advantages, the disadvantages between hammer fire, striker fire. All right, first up, the basics. Striker fire pistols, like the iconic Glock 17, don't use a traditional external hammer to strike the firing pin. Instead, they have a striker bar, a spring-loaded firing pin. This design has surged in popularity thanks to its simplicity and reliability. But is it really better than the tried and true hammer fire mechanism? All right, so striker fire pistols are known for their consistent trigger pull, no hammer, absence of a hammer, and also no external safety. A lot of times your hammer fire will have a safety, but most of the time your striker fire pistols will not have a safety on it.
Where is the safety? Exactly.
So I guess a lot of people say the general purpose is to kind of make that smooth, kind of snag-free design that's easy to carry and conceal, not like the full size I got. But I guess the lack of a hammer and lack of a safety on there makes it less snag-proof, more snag-proof, easier to conceal.
Easier to conceal. All right.
And also, the trigger pull is the same after every shot, which, you know, should increase your accuracy and help out with getting shots on target a lot better. Let's break down the magic behind a striker fire gun. All right, so minus the old school hammer. Imagine, instead of a hammer, this gun rocks a striker bar, a kind of internal superhero. Picture this: a spring-loaded firing pin shaped like a pointed rod with a spring hugging it tight. This pointed in. It's the business end that smacks into the primer of a bullet casing, sparking up a mini fireworks show that sends the bullet on its merry way. This is where it gets interesting. Striker fire guns have this cool two-step cocking dance. When you first load up, the striker bar is chilling in what you might call a half-cock position, kind of like it's waiting in the wings, ready to leap into action. Pull the trigger and boom, it goes into full beast mode, fully cocking and then firing in one smooth motion. After the party, it resets to its pre-cock state, primed for the next round. The whole setup is controlled by a nifty piece called the trigger bar, which gets nudged by another component, the connector, to let the striker fly or to catch it back in its half-cock layer after a shot. It's like having a personal assistant for your trigger, making everything simpler and smoother. This design strips down the fuss, making your gun ready to roll with less to puzzle over when it's go time.
Let's do it. It's go time.
And it's go time!
Alright, so it's not all roses. You know, we try to make the striker fire sound great, and I had to change the hat. It was hot. Sweated right through the next one. But the main complaint that people have, some people, you know, may have a little debate on this, is the lack of an external trigger on most striker fire firearms.
Because you need a safety net.
But You know, they talk about the lack of a safety, but these guns come with a lot of internal triggers, safeties for your trigger bar and other things that kind of make it a lot safer, what they call drop safe, or anything like that. So basically with a striker fired gun, usually the only way a round is going to come out of there is if you pull that trigger. And I know I'm holding a SIG 320. Be quiet.
You never know when it's gonna go off on you.
It's gonna go off any second.
All right, so it is a big debate about the safeties. Some people like having no safety, just having it, sleek, smooth, not having to worry about that extra step. If you're doing self-defense, you got your gun on safety, you have to take it off. Other people like having that added sense of security. You'll hear a lot of guys say, well, if you're not safe, you shouldn't be carrying. Carry your gun. I don't care how you carry. We want you to carry with a round in the chamber, but carry your gun. Don't let these internet knuckleheads keep you taking your gun out on the street every day, all right?
Take a bullet and you put it in the chamber.
Don't.
So, I guess you may say it's kind of like, an automatic and a manual transmission, the striker fired is the automatic, everything just kind of done, and the hammer fire could be your manual transmission where you got a couple of extra steps you got to do. It all boils down to personal preference and what you like and what you desire and what you need for your gun and your needs. So if for those people that's in the external safety camp, it's like having you're the pilot, it's like having a co-pilot, somebody that'll kind of help you not mess up and not make a mistake. But always remember that the most important safety when it comes to shooting is right here. All right, that is the most important thing. The firearm safety rules. You follow the firearm safety rules, you always handle guns safely. Keep your finger off the trigger. Don't point it in the safe direction. There's a burn back there, but I don't really want to point it toward the camera right now. So it's a burn here, so I'm gonna keep mine pointed that way because that's the way that I'm shooting. But I don't even want to put my hand in front of it. So that's follow the safety rules. Be safe with your firearm handling. You won't have to worry about an accidental discharge, and you don't have to worry about a safety. If you want a safety, that's for you. I'm not going to tell you not to. I don't want to tell anybody anything that's going to discourage them from carrying a gun. If you want a safety, get a safety.
I get what I want, and you get what you want.
But I almost forgot this. Always remember, do not rely on that safety for your safety. All right, the safety is a mechanical instrument. All right, so that means it can fail. It means you can have that gun on safe, and maybe somebody pulls the trigger and it fires. You could have it where you can have it. It's been plenty of times I've carried a gun with the safety on it and had it on safe, locked and cocked when I left out and got back in, and it was not on safe. All right, but practice safe firearms handling. You won't have anything to worry about.
Practice, practice, practice.
So if you're looking for a striker fired gun without the visible safety, don't worry about it. You got plenty of choices. Like I said, most of them do not have an external safety. They're packed with internal wizardry. All right, think grip safeties on Springfields or trigger safeties on Glocks. That's designed to keep the peace until you decide it's showtime. And for those models that do come with the manual safety, make training and practice your new best friends. So get cozy with that safety, and flicking it on and off feels natural like breathing. So we were talking about getting safe. It's a safety on here. So let's say you got it on safe. When you are concealed carry, when you pull it out, that's a whole nother step. So you got to get used to not just gripping your gun, thumb up, bringing that thumb down, and maybe even resting on top of the safety. So if you got a safety on your gun, you need to practice. Don't get out here and just practice just shooting this gun without the safety on. Practice from the draw, and practice flipping that safety on and off.
Safety is first.
Safety never takes a holiday.
All right, so it's like a whole mixed bag. You got a lot of different options with your striker fire as far as the safeties go. but nothing to worry about. They got all kind of internal wizardry, as we said before, to kind of make those guns safe. So Glock, SIG, CZ, Smith & Wesson, all of those make pretty safe striker fired guns. I know there's a lot out there about SIG, but I like SIG, so I'm not jumping in that gap. Get you one.
Don't want one. I don't need one.
We're talking about a decocker. Decocker is basically just, if you have your gun, this is a GSG Firefly. So, but it has, if mine was down, it might have the safety on because I want to be safe, whatever. But if I don't want to ride, be carried with this in the down position, without having to try to pull the trigger and pull it up like I did before, the decocker, I'm gonna hold the gun upside down because I'm sitting the wrong way. Decocker here, that's your slide, stop, release. That's your decocker. Your decocker is going to let this slide up. I'm gonna have to turn around the other way and do it, but we'll let y'all see it. So there is your gun, hammer down. Decocker is just going to decock that gun from the cock position to now. It's going to be a longer trigger pull in that first shot because it's up, but that's what you want to do if you want to be extra safe. All right, so on the flip side, a lot of shooters, just a lot of older shooters, just prefer the tactical feedback of the hammer. Hammer fires are great. I love them. Plus, the option, sometimes they'll have, single action, double action, single action, double action, that kind of versatility. A lot of people like having that kind of versatility in their firearms. And some people just like the traditional feel, the 1911 feel, that traditional feel, along with the added bonus of having the external safeties. One thing I don't like is the grip safety, but it's safe. And these on the staccatos, yeah, all you gotta do is touch that and you're on there, you're good. So yeah, a lot of people, there are a lot of advantages, disadvantages to having those. That's why a lot of people prefer the hammer over the striker. So striker fire guns are like the Swiss Army knives of the firearm world. Versatile, reliable, and they got a feature set that can turn heads. But as with anything that's got options, what makes one shooter do a happy dance may have another scratching their head. It's all about personal taste and how you groove with your gun. So let's dive into the mix and see what's cooking with these typical striker fire traits. Are they your jam or just a bit? I'm gonna just tell you some things. We're gonna go about it. You let me know whether you think it's an advantage or a disadvantage. All right. So with the striker fire, there is no external hammer. So it's kind of one less thing to think about when you go. Just put it in, back it back, and go. All right. Advantage, disadvantage. All right, so another one will be a short and a sweet trigger press. The trigger press is going to be the same every time. So you're not going to have to worry about that first shot being a longer pull and maybe being less accurate. So, consider that advantage or a disadvantage. Manual safety, and we don't need no stinking safety. Like I say, most striker fire handguns will not come with an external safety. And most of the time when you get a striker fire, they will. So whether you want a safety or not, just kind of depends whether you want to take that as an advantage or a disadvantage. So quick follow-up shots. Now quick follow-up shots could be an advantage, but it's only a disadvantage with the hammer fire after that first shot. The first shot is the longer pull on your double action, single action. Otherwise, if it's a double action only, single action only, you are getting the same trigger pull every time. So another advantage may be that they are easier to conceal because of that hammer. But I mean, let's think about it. That's a hammer with that beaver tail. Is that really that much of a difference? So, advantage, disadvantage, you decide. Now, the main thing that I say may be an advantage, and maybe not as much with your 2011s and more of your modern firearms, all of the internal safeties that are in here for trigger guard and anything else. They make sure these things are drop safe, and the only way you're going to release a round is to pull the trigger. All right? So another advantage for striker fire maybe not with this one, but they are light. I like heavier handguns. That may be just you. I'm used to shooting metal firearms back in the day, but yeah, the polymer design on most of these striker fire handguns will make them lighter. I guess you can decide whether that's an advantage or disadvantage for you. I'm not a fan of lighter handguns, but you may be. And I think that the main thing about it is that the striker fire are probably easier for the new shooters. You don't have to worry about hammers and double action, single action. They're a little bit easier to field strip. No safety. So striker fire usually are better options for new shooters. You know, I always recommend Glock 19, Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, SIG 320 for first shooters, and those are all, you know, guns that you can get without a without a hammer, without a safety. So advantage, disadvantage, but yeah, newer shooters I do usually try to recommend with them getting a striker fire or maybe a single action only hammer fire if you want to go that route. Alright, so what's the verdict? And it all comes down to personal preference, you know, whether you like the sleek design and all of the internal safeties of the striker fire, or you're a fan of traditional fan of, you know, hammers and safeties and whatnot on your hammer fire. It just comes down to personal preference and what you're good at and what you want to shoot. All right, so you guys let me know down in the comments below whether you prefer striker fire or hammer fire. Just leave a comment, help a brother out. Let me get some views on the channel. All right, so you guys do that, and until then, you guys stay safe, shoot straight, keep training. We'll get at y'all later. Here comes the hammer.
Here, the hammer stroke will fall hardest.
I prefer a hammer.
It's the hammer.
And I will not hesitate to lay the hammer down on any clown that comes around.